The red-inked foreclosure notice on my apartment door was a jagged blade through my heart, proving my parents had sacrificed my name to save their own. I am Maya, a 28-year-old freelance digital strategist, living in a studio apartment in Seattle that I thought I owned. I have spent the last 7 years of my life being the responsible child, the one who worked through college, the one who never asked for a dime, the one who built a pristine credit score like it was a holy relic. I believed in the independence I had carved out for myself. I am a woman who survives on logic, data, and the comfort of a balanced checkbook. But today, the data told me I was a ghost in my own life. It started with a rejected credit card at a grocery store, a minor embarrassment I assumed was a bank glitch. Then came the phone call from a debt collection agency looking for my advance regarding a $450,000 delinquent mortgage in a suburb of Atlanta I have visited in a decade. I laughed at first, telling the agent they had the wrong person. Then he read back my social security number. Then he read back my childhood address. The laughter died in my throat, replaced by a cold, sickening dread. I spent the next 48 hours submerged in a digital nightmare. I pulled my full credit report, and the pages kept printing until the tray was overflowing. There were 3 platinum credit cards, a luxury SUV lease, and a massive primary mortgage all opened in my name over the last 4 years. The total debt tied to my identity was nearly $1.8 million. The trail didn't lead to a shadowy hacker in a basement. It led to a gated community in Georgia. It led to the people who had taught me how to tie my shoes and save my pennies. My parents, Robert and Diane, had lost their manufacturing business during the pandemic. Instead of telling me, instead of downsizing, they had decided that my untapped credit potential was the solution to their pride. They had used my identity as a secondary bank account, forging my signature on digital loan applications and intercepting the mail at their house to ensure I never saw a single statement. I didn't call them. I didn't scream over the phone. I caught a red-eye flight to Atlanta and took an Uber to the address listed on the $450,000 mortgage. The house was a monstrosity of white pillars and manicured lawns, a mansion built on a foundation of theft. I walked up the driveway, my heart hammering against my ribs, and used the emergency key hidden under a stone in the garden. The interior was silent, smelling of expensive lilies and floor wax. My mother was in the kitchen, casually scrolling through a tablet while sipping a latte that probably cost more than my hourly rate. She looked up, her face frozen in a mask of shock that quickly melted into a practiced, maternal smile. "Maya, what a wonderful surprise. We weren't expecting you until the holidays," she said, her voice light and airy, as if she weren't currently living inside a crime scene. "I'm not here for the holidays, Mom," I said, my voice sounding like it belonged to a stranger. I dropped the stack of credit reports on the marble island. "I'm here for the $1.8 million you stole from me." The silence that followed was heavy and suffocating. My father walked in a moment later, still wearing his silk robe. He saw the papers, saw my face, and didn't even flinch. He just sighed, the sound of a man annoyed by a minor inconvenience. "We were going to tell you, Maya," he said, walking to the coffee machine, "but things were complicated. We needed to bridge the gap until the new venture took off. You have such a high ceiling for credit, it seemed a waste not to use it to keep the family afloat. Your advance, you understand that the family name is worth more than a few points on a FICO score." The family name. I felt a surge of nausea. "You didn't keep the family afloat. You bought a boat. You bought this house. You bought a lifestyle using my future as collateral. Do you have any idea what this does to me? I can't rent an apartment. I can't buy a car. I might lose my contract because my background check just flagged me as a high-risk fraud target." "Don't be so dramatic," my mother snapped, her eyes turning sharp. "You're young. You have plenty of time to rebuild. We're your parents. We gave you everything. Is it really such a tragedy that you have to help us stay in our home?" "It's not your home," I whispered. "It's my prison." I looked at them, to people who had spent my entire life telling me that character was the only thing that mattered, while they systematically liquidated mine. They didn't feel guilty. They felt entitled. They looked at me and didn't see a daughter. They saw a resource. "I'm giving you 48 hours, I said, my voice shaking with a rage so pure it felt like ice. "Sell the cars. List the house. Sign a full confession and a notarized statement that you initiated these accounts without my knowledge. If you don't, I'm going to the police." My father laughed, a dry, terrifying sound. "You won't do that, Maya. You won't put your own father in a cell. Think of the scandal. Think of how it would look for your precious career to be the daughter of a felon. No, you'll help us find a way to restructure the debt. That's what a good daughter does." A good daughter protects her life, I said. I walked out of the house, the sun blinding me as I stood in the driveway of a mansion I technically owned but would never live in. I sat in my rental car, my hands gripping the steering wheel until the skin split. I realized then that they weren't waiting for a solution. They were waiting for me to fold. They thought my love for them was a leash. They forgot that as a digital strategist, I know exactly how to trace a digital footprint. I spent the night in a cheap motel, my laptop humming as I accessed the Vance Family Trust portal, the one they had set up to manage their assets. They had been clever, but they weren't technical. They had used my email as a recovery address for the business accounts because they thought I never checked my old college inbox. I wasn't just a victim. I was the primary account holder. I didn't just have the debt. I had the keys to every single account they had opened. I could see the balances, the upcoming payments, and the secret reserve account they had hidden in a Cayman-based digital wallet. They wanted me to restructure. Fine. I was going to restructure their entire reality. I began the process of reporting every single card as stolen not by a stranger, but by specific, named individuals. I didn't stop at the credit cards. I initiated a request for immediate sale on the mansion through the bank's portal, using the very identity they had stolen to authorize the liquidation. The weight of the digital delete key felt like a mountain under my finger. A final barrier between the daughter who loved them and the woman who had to survive them. My hands hovered over the glowing keys in the dim, flickering light of the motel room. My breath coming in shallow, jagged hitches that felt like glass in my lungs. She is my mother. She is the woman who braided my hair before every piano recital, the one who held me when my first love broke my heart, the one who promised me that our family was an unbreakable fortress. He is my father. He is the man who taught me how to read a map, the one who walked me into my first day of college with tears of pride in his eyes. They are the architects of my very existence. My stomach knotted into a hard, icy mass of nausea. Hot tears finally broke and blurred the lines of code on my screen, and my breath caught in a sharp, jagged sob. How can I do this to them? How can I be the one to sign the warrants that will turn my parents into inmates? How can I burn down the roof I technically own, even if it was built with the ashes of my reputation? But they stood in that marble kitchen and laughed at my ruin. They looked at my 15 years of hard work and saw nothing but a line of credit to be exhausted. They gambled my future on a lifestyle they didn't earn. They struck first. I had no choice. I wiped my face with the sleeve of my hoodie, the warmth of the tears replaced by a bone-deep clinical chill. Maya, the daughter, was gone. Maya, the strategist, took the wheel. I didn't wait for the sun to rise. I knew my father. I knew he was already planning to move the funds from the Cayman digital wallet the moment he realized I was serious. He underestimated my speed. Using the recovery access I'd reclaimed, I initiated a total security lockdown on the wallet. I didn't just move the money. I flagged the account for potential money laundering with the host platform, ensuring that even if he had the private keys, the funds were frozen in digital purgatory until a legal audit was performed. Next, I turned my attention to the mansion. Since the mortgage was in my name, I didn't need a court order to talk to the bank. I called the high-priority fraud line and spoke to a supervisor. I am the legal owner of the property at 422 Oak Haven, I said, my voice as cold and precise as a scalpel. I am reporting that the occupants obtained the mortgage through identity theft. I am not interested in a payment plan. I am initiating a voluntary deed in lieu of foreclosure. I am surrendering the property to the bank immediately to satisfy the debt. By surrendering the house, I was effectively evicting them. The bank would move to take possession within days. The lifestyle they had stolen from me was about to vanish into a pile of legal paperwork. I arrived back at the mansion at 10 o'clock a.m. the next morning. The Georgia sun was brutal, but I felt nothing but a strange, hollow calmness. I didn't hide the key this time. I walked through the front door and found them in the living room, surrounded by half-packed designer suitcases. They had been trying to flee. The accounts are locked, Robert, I said, addressing my father by his first name for the first time in my life. The Cayman wallet is under federal review, and the bank just accepted my surrender of this house. You have 3 hours before the private security team I hired arrives to escort you off the premises. My mother let out a strangled cry, her face contorting into an ugly mask of desperation. Maya, please, we have nowhere to go. All our friends are status. We'll be the laughingstock of the city. You're destroying us. You destroyed me 4 years ago, Mom, I replied. You just didn't tell me until the bill came due. You traded my ability to ever buy a home for a marble foyer you couldn't afford. You traded my peace of mind for a Mercedes lease. You didn't just use my credit. You used my life as a shield for your ego. My father stood up, his face darkening with a familiar, patriarchal rage. You think you're so clever. You're a Vance. If we go down, you go down with us. The banks will see your name on everything. They'll think you were in on it from the start. You'll never work in this industry again. I've already thought of that, I said, sliding a folder across the coffee table. Inside is a copy of the confession of judgment I filed with the district attorney this morning. I included the IP logs from your home network, showing you were the one who filled out the loan applications while I was in Seattle. I included the recorded calls of you pretending to be my authorized representative to the credit card companies. I'm not going down with you, Dad. I'm the primary witness for the prosecution. The silence that followed was absolute. For the first time, I saw a flash of genuine fear in my father's eyes. He realized the responsible daughter was gone. He was looking at the woman he had trained to be a strategist, and he realized he had lost the game. What do you want? He whispered, his shoulders finally sagging. I want my name back, I said. Sign the full confession. Agree to a structured restitution plan where you work to pay back the credit card companies, and I'll ask the DA for a deferred prosecution. You'll lose the house, the cars, and the country club. You'll live in a small apartment and work until you're 80, but you won't go to prison today. They signed. Their hands shook so much the ink smeared on the page, but the signatures were legal. I watched them leave 2 hours later. They didn't have a moving truck. They had a single cab and 4 suitcases. My mother didn't even look at me. She just stared out the window, her hand clutching her throat. My father looked at the house one last time, his face a map of bitter regret, not for what he had done to me, but for what he had lost. I stayed in the empty house for 1 more hour. I walked through the rooms that had been bought with my credit score, feeling the hollow echoes of their lies. I felt a strange sense of mourning, not for them, but for the girl who had believed her parents were her protectors. The road to recovery was long and grueling. It took 3 years of legal battles, endless phone calls with credit bureaus, and a complete rebranding of my professional identity. I had to live in a tiny basement apartment and eat ramen while I paid off the non-contestable portions of the debt they had racked up. My credit score stayed in the gutter for a long time, a constant reminder of the betrayal. But I did it. I scrubbed my name clean. I worked twice as hard as anyone else to prove to my clients that I was trustworthy. And eventually, the identity theft flag was removed from my file. I live in a modest condo now, one I bought with a high-interest loan that I fought for with every fiber of my being. I don't talk to them. I heard they reliving in a 1-bedroom rental in a town where no one knows their name. My mother works at a dry cleaner, and my father is a night security guard. They send me emails sometimes, filled with excuses and pleas for family loyalty. I don't answer. I am Maya. I am a strategist. And I finally realized that the only person responsible for my name is me. Now I live in peace, and they finally learned their lesson.